So let's begin with this presentation on custom data export with Ensembl BioMart. We are now on session number 6 out of our webinar series, and coming up we have on Thursday 2 more sessions about uploading your own data to Ensembl and how to use the REST APIs. So see you on Thursday for those. Okay. And so this session structure is going to follow as the others have. So we're starting off with a short presentation about what BioMart is, how to build a BioMart query, and then I'll show you how to do this in practice in the demo. And then, as we know already, we have all the exercises available on the Train Online site for you to do after the webinar. So let's start by defining what BioMart is. This is what we call an Ensembl tool, which is available through the website. It's also available as an R package if people prefer to use R. It enables you to export varied data without any programming skills required. So it's a highly customizable point-and-click interface for you to download bulk amount of data. And you're able to view the results online or download these in a variety of formats as well. So why would you use BioMart? And the main selling point is that it's much quicker than you would be able to achieve if you just use the Ensembl browser. So you're able to query multiple things at once. So, for example, you could convert IDs from different databases. So if you have a UniProt or REST-seq IDs and you want to find out what they are in Ensembl, you can use BioMart for this. You can find gene locations from a list of genes that you may have, and you can download sequences for a range of different genes, variants, and so on. So it enables you to export large amounts of data, essentially. So just an analogy for this, say that you wanted a sandwich, you could walk down the high street and go to the cheesemongers to buy your cheese, walk a bit further down the street to the greengrocers to get your vegetables, and then again walk down the street to find the bakery and buy your bread. And this is sort of synonymous with going to the location tab to find out some information here, and then navigating to the gene tab, and then the variant tab to find out a range of information here, whereas in reality what you really want to do is just go to Sainsbury's or a supermarket and find all of the things available in one easy location, which is what we refer to BioMart as our online supermarket for Ensembl. So you can find BioMart across all of our sites. So for the main site and the older Human Genome Assembly GRCH37. You can also find it across the Ensembl genomes sites as well, except for bacteria, it's not available. And you can see here, it's a quick link in the header bar that you may have noticed already. So if you want to build a BioMart query, there's a sort of simple 4-step process that you need to do. So firstly, you need to define your data set. So you have to choose the database you want to access and what species you're starting off with. Then you apply filters which narrow down the data set, and then attributes, which is essentially what you want to learn about the data that you're filtering. And then you can find your results where you can download and export the data. So to begin with, you need to define your data set, as I said. So we have 4 different databases available. So they're focused mostly around genes, variation, and regulation. And you may notice that we have also mouse strains represented here. Because all the mouse strains that we have in Ensembl are just all of the same species. We have these located in a separate directory. So if you work with mouse strains, you'll be able to find those data there. And then once you've decided whether you want to look at genes, variation, or regulation data, then you can choose the species, your focal species of interest. So we're going to be taking a look at human in the demo, for example. But we have all of the species listed here that are in Ensembl. So once you've defined that, then you need to apply some filters. So you can define a large set of genes or variants or regulation features by a combination of filters. So you could say, okay, I'm interested in chromosome Y, and I want to find all protein coding genes within this region that are associated with a particular phenotype, for example. And then you would reduce the data set down to a set that matches all of these requirements in your filters. Then you would define your attributes. So you essentially define your attributes as the data that you want to find out about your reduced data set. So you can find out IDs from other databases, for example, your features, sequences, and orthologs and paralogs across all the species in Ensembl. And essentially, what you're doing really is just defining your column headers for your output table. So you can see on the left here we have the attributes defined on the side. These are ones I've selected within this section, and you can see each of these ends up as a column header in my table. And if you're exporting sequences, then these end up as the class A header in your sequence output. And then finally, when you come to wanting to access your results, you can download in a range of different formats. You can also just view in the browser, or you can export as class A sequence for sequence data only. So there's sometimes some common confusion between filters and attributes, and in BioMart there's often more than one way to go about getting the same amount of data. So for each query or search terms, you have filters, and then the answers you want are your attributes, typically. But in this example, you could say, I want to find which of these human genes are also present in cat, for example. And you could apply a filter for this. So you could filter the output to only show you genes that have orthologs in cat. Or you could apply an attribute which will show you which of my genes have a matching ortholog in cat. So the difference would be in the first one that we would reduce the data set that we're looking at to only those which have cat orthologs. Whereas the attributes, we would have empty rows in our table where we've still defined our genes and just happen to tell us if they have a ortholog in cat. So there's a lot of options in BioMart, and it can be quite overwhelming. If you ever need any help at any point, you can always just click on this icon, which is present on every page, to get to our help page, with links to YouTube and FAQs, for example, so you can always get help wherever you are. And with that, let's move on to the demo. So it's quite a short introduction to BioMart, and now let's just explore these 6 genes listed here. And we want to find out what their associated functions are based on their gene ontology annotation. We want to find out what the NCBI IDs are for these genes as well, and what their cDNA sequences are. So I'm just going to pop out my presentation. So here I am on Ensembl.org, and you can see from the top of this header that we have BioMart handily located in the header. So I'm going to click on this now. So you can see it's loaded what I looked at previously. So if I click New here, I can just refresh and start with a new data set. Okay, great. So first of all, it just prompts me to choose my database. So we're looking at genes, so I'm going to click on genes. But let me just show you what you can access within variation regulation, which we're not going to cover in the demo so much. So if I click on Ensembl variation, this is going to come up with a list of different databases depending on whether these are germline or somatic variants, and whether these are the sequence variants, which I spoke about in the last presentation I gave, or structural variants. So just to highlight that you need to choose the appropriate data set. Some species don't have somatic data, so it's just a difference between short and structural variants. And the same is for Ensembl regulation. There's a number of different options. Because we only have regulation data for human mouse, as Emily said, you can choose a number of different data sets here, but if you're looking for the regulatory build, then you'd want to choose regulatory features. So we're going to focus on genes, but the principle of building the BioMart query is the same across any of the databases you use. And then we're going to choose, again here, human genes, and just know that you can scroll down to find any of the species in Ensembl, but we're going to look at human now. So you can see now that the page is reloaded, and my data set is appearing here, saying human genes on the left-hand side. And I'm going to click now on filters to reduce the data set. If I click count now, you can see that we're going to be looking at all of the genes that we have for human available, which is 64,000. So we don't want to be downloading all of that amount of data. We need to apply some filters to reduce the data set. So I'm in the filter section now, and you can see that we have a list of different options. All of these are expandable and are focused around the title, of course. So if you want a region, then you're going to be defining a chromosome and base pair location, and that will narrow down the data set that way. Genes, similarly, which we'll go to do in a moment, will be narrowing down the data sets to genes of interest. You can filter by phenotype, gene ontology annotations. You can even filter by finding genes that are only have paralogs in human, or as I mentioned in the presentation, genes that are orthologous in another species. You can filter by specific types of protein domains and even variants, although using the database for variants is much more powerful than using it within the gene. So I'm going to expand gene now. and we come to a range of different options here. I have a list of HGNC symbols, so the Human Gene Nomenclature Committee have identified these gene names. So I've pasted them in, and what you can see is that I have this drop-down box at the top which says gene stable IDs. So if I click count now, you'll see that the list comes up with 0 genes, and that's because I haven't matched my input format to my list of gene identifiers. So if I click on this, you can see that we have a very long list of all of the different types of gene identifiers that you can put in, including REST-seq IDs, Unifor IDs, and so on. So what I want to do is find my gene names, either up here or by clicking on the HGNC symbol. And you can see all of them have these examples, so it's quite easy to match what identifier you have to what's in the list. And now if I click count, we can see that this is updated to 6 genes, which you can see is what I've put in. So you can specify anything as a comma-separated list or a carriage return, and expand the box or even upload a file here as well. So I've reduced my data set to these genes of interest, and now I want to find out information about them, so I'm going to click on attributes. So what you notice is that we have first these what we call radio buttons, and each of these is a unique database. So you cannot choose something from the features section and this sequences section. You have to choose one or the other. So when I want to download my cDNA sequences, I'm actually going to have to do that as a separate BioMart query. So we're going to stay on features for now, because this has a section called external, which is where we're going to find our external database identifiers. So first of all, I'm going to expand this gene section. And you can see that gene stable ID and transcript stable ID are chosen by default, which you can see already listed here in the attribute section. I'm also going to choose gene name, because this is what we submitted. These HGNC symbols are normally synonymous with gene name, so I want that in my output as well. And if I now minimize this, I'm going to open this external section. And I said that I wanted to find out what my Go terms were associated with these genes, so I'm going to click on Go term name and definition. And then if I scroll down, I can see all these external references listed here, similar to the filter section, and they're listed alphabetically, and I want to find my NCBI ID. So I found that here. And note that these have separate headers here, which are often missed. So all of the Go terms are associated here, all the external references here, and if we expand this gene section again, as I forgot to mention, we have everything related to Ensembl and our annotation within this section here. So you can see when I was selecting those that they all appeared on this left-hand side here. And now if I click Results, you can see that I've got a 10-row table here, just summarizing my output. You can change the number of rows quickly here just to get a preview, or you can download the table up here in any of these different formats here. So let's just explore this table. You can see that my gene and transcript stable ID are listed first. Everything is listed in the order that it is in the attribute section. We have my gene name, the Go term name is available, and the definition as well, and the NCBI gene ID. So if I click on any of these links, they're going to take me directly to the browser. And so this one as well, the general identifiers. So now if I want to find the cDNA sequences, I do have to go back into attributes. So what I could do is download this table and then go back to attributes and just quickly change. If I click on sequences here, you can see that the attributes have changed immediately. And if I open this up, we have the schematic of the different types of sequence you can download. And by default, it's the peptide or protein sequence. And I'm going to click on cDNA sequence, and you can see the schematic has changed a bit here. You can add upstream and downstream flanking if you're interested as well. And the header information here, as I said before, this is what's going to appear in the FASTA header. So if I click on gene name, I'd like to add that as well, and perhaps gene type, so I can see if it's protein or whatever. So now if I click on results, you can see that the output has changed a bit. We have the FASTA header listing all of our attributes separated by what we call this pipe symbol, this vertical line. So I've got my gene and transcript stable IDs, my gene name, and then what the biotype of this is, and this one's protein coding, so on. So you can see if I want to download this data, I only have the one option, just a FASTA file. And if I click go, then I'll just download that into my directory. So essentially that sums up what I wanted to say about BioMart. I highlighted this in the variation presentation, but I'm just going to quickly show you as well. If you've created a vet query, I've just clicked on vet up here. I'm going to vet. Here are some vet queries that I've run before. So if I click on view results, a detailed instruction on how to run the vet is available in the previous webinar, but I'm just showing you that you can quickly export both variants and genes identified in your vet output and transport these into BioMart. So if I click on this link here, it takes me to BioMart or it immediately applies all of these genes that I found in my output from my vet query into my filter in BioMart. So I can avoid doing all of this stuff at the beginning and just quickly go and find out what attributes I want to find out about these genes. So I want to see, okay, what phenotypes are associated with these genes that are affected by my variant. So that's just a quick demo on how to go from the vet to BioMart. I'm going to go back to my presentation now and just wrap up. Okay, so that sums up the BioMart section of this webinar. So you can go online and try out some of the exercises that are uploaded here. As I said before, all the solutions are also available online, and you can email us or on Slack with any questions you have about the exercises. So you can really email us with anything at all about help desk if you've got any general questions about Ensembl as well. So following this, that's the end of the webinars for today, but on Thursday you can join us again to learn about how to upload your data to Ensembl and also get a little introduction to the Ensembl REST APIs, which is the new section for this year's webinar. So this is going to introduce how you can query the database programmatically. So if you want to explore any more webinars available online, you can do so through the EBI training site. So there's lots of resources present here at the EBI that you can find webinars for as well, such as PDB and many others. All the videos that we have available for using Ensembl are available for our YouTube and YouTube channels. And of course, as I said before, you can email us at help desk with any queries you have, or use our developers mailing list if you're accessing Ensembl programmatically. Please do cite us if you ever use Ensembl in your work. And thank you to everybody on the Ensembl team. Obviously, it's not just Astrid, Emily, and me who work on this project. We just get the pleasure of telling you about it. So great big thanks goes out to all the team who work on Ensembl and who are all acknowledged here, and of course all of our funders, which enable us to deliver this free training to you and also run Ensembl as a database as well.